Alright, what is up, everybody? We are back after what felt like a fairly extended, about a week and a half off for the stream here. I'm up 2 weeks off for you, Draby Noobs.
Yeah, hell of
Yeah,
a hell of a week and a half week.
yeah, right. Well, I'm just glad that we're both feeling up to doing this. I'm really tired, if you can't tell. We won't be going too late tonight or for too long, but we weren't going to be doing a budget battle this week, just given the announcement of the historic anthology as well as the Explorer anthology, which Drabinoops, we talked about that. I'm pretty sure on one of those podcast episodes we had last month about we understood that we would be getting one anthology that
Yep.
had like 10, so half of its cards dedicated to be bringing Pioneer cards to Explorer. What we actually are getting, though, is two different anthologies, one for Historic Anthology 6, and then one for Explorer, Explorer Anthology 1.
Yes.
So, first of all, what are your feelings on the fact that we're actually getting two products next week?
So, uh it's all really gonna come down to their pricing, which if it follows the pattern, won't be good.
4,000
Uh,
gems.
well, how much?
4,000 gems. And like
4,000 gems?
20,000 gold. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, let me pull up the exact numbers here. I think those are right.
yeah. How
MTG.
much were the anthologies before?
About the same. Actually, you had to pay cash. They were 1999
Oh,
before.
okay, okay.
Which
Got
I
it.
think that's the same.
For
Uh,
10 cards as well?
it was for 20. It's
For
always
20? Okay.
it's always been for 4 copies of 20 cards. See, they're like $25 basically, because 3,400 gems is $20. So they went
Okay.
up in price a little bit, but I still think they're better than say a remastered set when it comes to
Yeah, no.
like EV level on dollar.
Oh, yeah, it's yeah, no, definitely it's a better value just being okay, you get four of all of this.
Yeah. Here,
It's
actually,
I
go ahead.
I do actually like that they split them up too, so it's not like, oh well, I'm only interested in this, but I'm only interested in half of it, but I have to buy the whole thing because that's the way they're split up. I'm glad they actually are separating them as two distinct product lines.
Yeah. Oh, so these come out exactly next Thursday, just in time for the new
Oh,
episode of our
exact.
budget
Ooh,
battle.
okay. Well, I guess we're gonna.
We will
Oh, and
have
they're not
the
all gonna be revealed. Man, that's gonna be
we'll
a
have
hell of a time.
we'll have them all revealed on the 27th. So by next
Okay.
Wednesday, we'll know every card in both. But what I will tell you, actually, funny enough, my very first product review that I did on YouTube for Arena was Historic Anthology 5.
Hmm.
To where, and I think this is still going to hold true here, is that the anthologies for specifically stuff like Historic and Explorer, and especially in a place like Arena,
Yeah.
is my favorite vehicle of which they put cards on the platform. Because like you and I have talked to when we did our economy podcast. The idea of booster packs on Arena is like dumb, and it only
Yeah.
gets dumber the more you really dig into it.
Mm.
Where it's like we're selling you the experience of opening a pack, except you're not. You're selling me the experience of clicking on something and getting like a slight amount of like hormones in my brain because it's shiny on the screen until I flip it over and realize it's terrible, and then I have to buy another pack to get a good card.
I have uh I have played way too many digital card games. Played and abandoned so many digital card games that the experience of opening the pack is there's nothing. There's no positive experience there.
I'll tell you. So the last RCQ that I played in, um, made the finals. I was playing against a teammate. We prize split, so I got like $320 of credit because I lost the finals. So he gave me. We do a split on our team. If we meet in the finals, the winner gets the invite and the loser gets everything else. It's a fairly even split when you really break down the value of that invite. But uh, you know, I got like a bunch of double masters packs, and to be quite frank with you, they all sucked. They were all
Yeah.
terrible. Like I think, like here I opened here's the best card I opened. I opened this. and I opened this. Now, these are cards that I neither need nor want. To clarify, Emrakul
Ah,
the Aeon's Torn does exactly one thing in my collection, which is go into the sideboards of random modern decks when I expect to be playing against Mill. And then that's it. That's all it does. I've never cast that card in my life, believe it or not. I've sneak attacked it into play a lot. I've show and
yeah.
telled it and hypergenesis it into play a lot. Never actually cast it.
I used to I used to when I was still playing MTGO Modern, that was the finisher for, Clark Clan Ironworks. So,
Oh, I mean, for like a minute until people realized you could just. It was more consistent to just not do that and just do the Pirate Spellbomb thing, but
yeah, but I mean, this is the very early days.
that's fair. I always sideboarded it for when my matches, like if I game one took a long time to win, I would sideboard in Emrakul because sometimes you just like make 15 mana really quickly and cast an Emrakul, and then like that's enough to win the game really quickly. But that's but still circling back to our main point though, we also got our
Stole the
first.
pack sealed. Yeah, maybe.
I really like the vehicle that the anthology gives because Arena is a place where booster packs are like since every card is worth the same amount of money realistically.
Yes.
Like there's no reason for there to be booster packs.
No.
Like, looks like Epic Knight Studio says I should have resold the pack sealed. He's not wrong. I definitely probably should have done that. But, I wanted to crack some packs for the complaint equity. It's very important. That's worth its weight in gold. But, yes, I am very excited to see these. I am also excited that they split them into two, because it definitely felt like if you're doing it where, like you put 10 cards into a historic anthology, that are meant to be Pioneer reprints, into Arena. But like it definitely feels like the bar for Pioneer cards, especially ones that they're prioritizing to make an impact in historic, is super super high. So I actually like that they separated them because now it's just like I don't feel because like they all go into historic anyway, right? So for historic dedicated players, this is
Oh, I gotta
you know
change that back. Sorry.
we're double dipping them basically, but at the same time, like they're also getting 40 brand new cards. Uh, and just to go over the spoilers, so for historic, we're getting Go Shintai of Life's Origin Commander card from the Kamigawa
I
Commander.
screwed up the camera. Sorry.
Why?
I was like I'm a little blurry, so I changed the resolution but it changed the video size.
Oh, I honestly didn't even come through on my end. But we got the Go Shintai, which is from the Commander deck. I don't know who that's for, but it's there.
Yeah.
We got Tarmogoyf. That's exciting. I know
Mm.
that was a card that when you and I talked about what we want to see in a historic anthology, Tarmogoyf is a card that's actually come up a few times. Uh, and then the last one was Avacyn, Angel of Hope,
Yes.
which I'm actually really excited for because, in that format specifically, there are like Unburial Rites Reanimator decks
Mm.
and Indomitable Creativity decks. And they've been using Sarah's Emissary, very good, not as good as Avacyn in that format though. Or being indestructible is actually kind of a huge plus, as it turns
Yeah,
out.
I mean, God, it would definitely increase the value of any deck playing Farewell too,
Well, actually,
if that becomes a
funnily
thing.
enough, that you bring up that because in our Explorer anthology, the control decks are getting what is considered the better Farewell, Supreme
That's
Verdict.
true.
So we're actually getting a solid control reprint in Supreme Verdict, which, funnily enough, is like one of the big pieces Blue White Control is actually missing from Pioneer
Mm.
in Explorer. It's actually the only real card they were missing, if we're being completely honest. Everything else that they're playing is so new that they weren't really missing anything else. But we're also getting Favorite Hoplite and Kalidas, Trader of Get. All three cards, by the way, uh, cards you and I guessed would be in here
Yep.
because got the finger on the pulse of Pioneer, as it turns out. the rectal pulse.
Okay.
But I'm just kidding. That's when we get like 10 shitty cards. Then we had our finger on the rectal pulse. But I'm looking forward to this. I'm really excited. I'm really excited to see what else they decide to bring in. Because if they're willing to bring in Supreme Verdict, then I can't imagine that they're unwilling to bring in Nykthos. And albeit that deck can be really frustrating to play against as a person who's played a lot of Pioneer recently. Because I'll tell you, in our team's testing, we cut our Karns in one version to play Vivian Arcbow Hunter,
Okay.
so that we could turn 4 Ulamog people out of our sideboard. Because that's a thing you can do.
Yep.
And that doesn't feel very good for your opponent, but, you know, it's still a lot of fun. And basically everything that you have, because probably the last card we're going to get that's super relevant in Pioneer is something like Emrakul, the Promised End.
Yeah.
Just like this super complicated card to program, because I can already imagine how bad the UI is going to be on that card.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, because the way the arena UI is designed, all slick and such, does not. Mm,
You could tell that they did not intend on ever bringing that design back.
yeah.
Because thinking about how the arena layout looks, it's like, unless, like, it's going to bring their hand down in front of you, and you're going to have two hands you're looking at, it's either going to be cumbersome and bad, or confusing.
It might be similar. Someone was thinking about like how would multiplayer Commander, multiplayer Brawl work in the existing format, and the way that they had imagined it was an arrow that allows you to slide between, like, okay, this is my hand, this is the opponent's hand, or maybe they just make the opponent's hand on the other side clickable and revealed. I don't know.
Yeah, I can't imagine that the UI has the capability in its current format to allow you to make your opponent's hand clickable, let's be honest. I don't have high hopes for it. But, you know, we'll see. We'll see. Be interesting to see how that turns out. Maybe they'll just ban it in Pioneer so that they have an excuse to not put it on Arena. Problem solved.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. That card should not be banned in Pioneer. It's not nearly good enough. It sucks to play against, but by golly, is it not the end all be all. So very exciting.
Ban it in Pioneer so they don't have to program it on Arena.
I mean, to be fair, most people assume that card is banned in Pioneer, believe it or not. Like, I've seen people in RCQ level events call a judge to verify the legality of their opponent's Emrakul the Promised End. And, yeah, because that's, you know, one of those cards that it was banned in Standard, and of course it's only now becoming relevant in Modern in the 4-color mid-range decks, but I totally get why people would assume that. Because it doesn't get a lot of play, and, you know, it was banned in Standard for so long.
I mean, it's the Jason Bloodbraid effect, right? Like,
That's
cards
exactly what it is.
They were so overwhelming when they were printed in Standard that people just assume they're banned in other formats. Like, and you know, Jace came back, got unbanned in Modern. Braids got unbanned in Modern. And what was the ultimate, conclusion? They're fine. They're very good cards.
No, they weren't. They weren't very good cards. They actually very bad cards.
Were they bad?
Oh yeah, you kidding me? You know what sucks worse than literally every other option? Jace the Mind Sculptor. You know what the new Jace the Mind Sculptor is called? It's called Teferi, Hero of Dominaria. Grow some hair on your chest and just play the right card.
The when they originally unbanned it, people were like, "This is fine. I would play this." But yeah, but the thing is, the larger pool of cards.
Exactly.
Well, they were big fish in little ponds.
Exactly. What it was is it was in Standard, and like a lot of people forget that when Lightning Bolt came back into Standard around when Jace was legal, Jace became very bad in Standard. Like he went from being really good to like not kind of a liability, and you had to change the way you played with it. And because of the way you changed, where you had to immediately plus it no matter what, it made it a lot worse. Bloodbraid did the same thing to Jace, where it just kept. Every Jace had to be honest. in standard. And the thing is that we don't just. I mean, at that point we didn't have Unholy Heat yet, but we have Lightning Bolt. Lightning
Oh,
Bolt's
that's
very
true. Yeah.
played. We have Dovin's Veto. We had, and like the other thing was just like, especially then when Modern Horizons 2 came around and like Counterspell got printed into the format, and it's just like, well, what's really good with Counterspell? Teferi, Hero of Dominaria. You know who's not really
Yeah.
good with Counterspell? Jace the Mind Sculptor. Like, and now you have cards like the Wandering Emperor just like really pushing him out. You see him now, he's like a sideboard card as a
Oh
for
God,
like is it Urktide, and occasionally he's a one of in the 4-color mid range deck somewhere.
man. The past 6 years have just blurred together. Jace got unbanned in 2018.
Yeah, it's been a while.
So it would make sense that 6 years worth of cards have turned it from okay to bad.
4 years. It's only been 4 years.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
2022.
4 years. It's okay. See,
Still,
I can't
no,
even
you're
keep
not
track
wrong
of.
though. Well, even when it came out, but like Stoneforge Mystic did the same thing. I
Yep.
remember the week after Stoneforge got unbanned, I played in a regional Pro Tour qualifier, an RPTQ, and that was also a 3K. And like I remember, like everybody in the room was playing some kind of Stoneblade deck.
Oh yeah.
And I played like red green. What was it? Yeah, red green Valakut Titan Shift. And just stomped on a bunch of shitty, Stoneblade decks because turns out again that was a rose tinted glasses
Yeah.
situation. Everyone was like, Callblade's broken. Play Callblade. It's like, well, Callblade was broken in like one standard and one extended format, like
Yep.
10 years ago. And by today's
It's
standards, it's kind of dopey and bad.
yeah, that worked out for me. I got to get rid of my Stoneforge. I could buy the same Stoneforge now for like a third of what I sold it.
That's fair. Well, when Colossus Hammer came out, they rocketed back up and it stayed
That's
like
true.
60 bucks
Colossus
forever.
Hammer is just a good card.
Well, Blue Eye Hammer is still a good deck as it turns out, but yeah. No, there's a lot of cards. Like, cause like Bitter Blossom, same thing happened with Bitter Blossom.
Yep.
They unbanned Bitter Blossom. Everybody played fairies and realized the deck sucks. Bitter Blossom's a liability 95% of the time. Wild Nacatl, that was the funniest Pro Tour of all time. Wild Nacatl gets unbanned going into Pro Tour Born of the Gods, and that's the set where Anger of the Gods got printed.
Yeah.
You know what's really good against a 3 toughness zoo deck? The 3 mana deal 3 exile everything that it kills. Which is why, that has like the greatest PT interview of all time where Li Shi Tian describes how Blue Moon works. It was like a turn 1, a Lightning Bolt, a turn 2, a Remand, a turn 3, a Blood Moon, opponent could see. Like, that was his exact interview, like verbatim.
Yeah.
Like,
I
best
remember that
deck tech
interview.
ever. Best deck tech ever. And then he explained how broken Anger of the Gods was. So everybody was like playing like Voice of Resurgence and Wild Nacatl. He's just
Yeah,
like,
and
yeah,
I
it's
also
really good in that
remember,
field.
didn't he specifically say like, yeah, this deck probably isn't very good outside this specific format?
That is correct. He was like, this is probably where the deck's gonna be at its best. People still play it to this day.
Yep.
People obsessed. Don't get me wrong. I've been a main deck Blood Moon guy. I used to play those Rakdos mid-range decks with Blood Moon in them a lot, and they were good. But like especially nowadays since Boseiju came out, like can't be playing no Blood Moon. Blood Moon a liability. Blood Moon very bad. That's a turn 3 of Blood Moon. Opponent Boseiju, you cry. And then you Lightning Bolt something because you got to land off of it. My goodness. So, looking
Silver
forward.
linings.
Silver linings, right? So, looking forward, we got 17 more cards. Honestly, thinking about the Pioneer metagame, which I'm actually going to pull that up right now. Let's just look at we'll look at the 14-day metagame here. The best decks in the format, like by play, we got Is It Phoenix, which would take, how many cards are here that we don't have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, no, I think we have Lightning Axe, don't we?
Yeah, we have Lightning Axe.
Yeah, because it was reprinted. Let me actually just take a quick peek at this. Because, yeah, we have Lightning Axe. Yep, that's Jumpstart. We've got. We don't have Is It Charm, so that's one card. So basically, we're missing, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 main deck cards for that deck. So that's probably one deck that won't get finished, but it is still a deck. For Rakdos, which is like the de facto best deck, yeah, we're missing 1, 2, 3 main deck cards from that deck. So like not a lot at all.
Yeah.
And that's Urbor, Kalidas, which we're getting, and then Dreadbore. There's a few sideboard cards they played that we won't probably be getting, but like Azorius Control, we were missing what? Supreme Verdict.
Yeah.
And that was it. That's all we're missing for that deck. So that deck is actually just all on Arena now. Then like Nykthos, Ramp. What is this? 1, 2, 3. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Missing 4 main deck cards from this deck. And then like a handful of sideboard cards that they don't always play. It's like not a lot. Like a lot of these decks could really get filled in. Mono red aggro we're missing 2 main deck cards for. Even like hidden strings, we're missing. What is it? 1.
Excuse me.
2, 3, 4, 5 cards. We're missing 5 essential cards and a handful of random things they play on occasion. But yeah, so it's definitely like very realistic that with 20 cards though, that they could easily finish out a lot of these archetypes that exist. Especially the best ones like Blue-White Control, Rakdos, mid-range. I imagine they'll go for the Nykthos deck. Even if they don't put everything, they'll probably put a good chunk because it's like 4 cards that I think a lot of people really want, which is Elvish Mystic, Nykthos, Sylvan Caryatid, and I think that was it for main deck cards. And they play the occasional like sideboard, like Skylasher and whatnot, but Mistcutter Hydra. Yeah, I look forward to seeing what we're going to be getting. And they're going to be spoiling that on their various social media channels between now and next Wednesday when we get the full card drop.
It is exciting.
I will gladly spend 4,000 gems at least on the Explorer one. I'll probably buy the historic one while I'm at it, just to. Because if you're going to get even one set of the rares in one of these, it's worth it just to buy the whole thing.
Oh, yeah, no,
like,
for sure.
Doing the math on it, it's like, well, you could spend, 4 wild cards or 24 booster packs, right, on redeeming a playset of a rare in one of these things. And mythics are even worse, so like, just like Supreme Verdict, which I'm going to want because I do play blue-white for like the gauntlets and whatnot, it's just going to make more sense to do that. And just buy them outright. Plus, I have 7,600 gems on my account, just sort of hanging out because I had some draft tokens and. I played some Alchemy Horizons draft, and I'll tell you, it was fucking terrible. It's honestly one of the worst draft formats I think I've ever played. It is horrendously unbalanced. It has all of the same problems AFR had, which was that it was fucking boring. Like, beyond belief boring. And on top of that, it's like, so blue is unplayable. Like, it's unplayable. You cannot take blue cards. Like, Young Blue Dragon is the only playable blue common.
Wow.
And, like, that's not just my own opinion, by the way. That's like Louis Scott Vargas and Marshall Sutcliffe's opinion. From like limited resources. They're like, yeah, it's like on the commons draft list, blue doesn't show up until number 42 in the draft order, of which you should take commons. And the blue rares are about the same.
I'm shocked that they reviewed that.
Oh, they did it just because they can't. They needed, it's a free episode, right?
Yeah, fair.
But like, it is honestly like none of the cards are that good for constructed in my experience so far.
Hmm.
Like just looking at them, the specialized cards is exactly as terrible as I said they were, which was you go to specialize them and then they immediately die before they can resolve any
Yeah.
specialized triggers. And yeah, it's just like, the best thing you can do is play red white
Mhm.
aggro, right? Which is not a sign of a healthy draft format, by the way. When the
No.
only good decks are like, the 18 creature, 6 spell, 7 spell, go to 16 land aggro deck. Like, that's not a good sign. That's a red flag, if you've ever seen one. Which is unfortunate. I really, really, really wanted it to be a fun draft experience, but it really, really, really wasn't. Because I did 7-1 every one of my drafts.
Mhm.
But, you know, I would not recommend. I only did them because they were free.
Yeah, fair enough.
Free and apparently super easy because I played against a lot of people who picked blue cards. It's just the truth.
Yeah, it's there. There's honestly I, I don't know what it is about draft. It's super duper easy to get to gold. It's only marginally more challenging to get to platinum, and then beyond that, you're actually playing people who somewhat know what they're doing.
Oh, it's true.
Somewhat.
Yeah, like drafting is such a, especially, so like drafting is such a skill intensive thing, right? And the way you get good at draft is you've played a lot of different draft formats and you've played each of them a lot. So the thing you run into on Arena especially is that you get a lot of people who are in the lower ranks who only draft occasionally, and don't have that rich background in draft. Like I've drafted well over 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 times in my career
Mm.
through, over the course of, 2 to 3 dozen sets at this point. So it's like
The old 10,000 hours.
I know exactly what, when I'm reading through my pack, even if I've never played the draft format, I can tell you that, you know, this is probably a good creature. This is probably a good removal spell because I have like anecdotes to reference back to. And you can cheat code a lot of that for specific draft formats by watching groups like Limited Resources and whatnot. But
Yeah.
still, yeah, the people who are in bronze and silver typically aren't the people who are watching Limited Resources.
Yeah. And
Just the truth.
it is interesting to like even with the untapped you pay the premium and you get the the draft smith that'll help you draft or whatever, but I mean that is literally just suggestions. You get to a point where uh you don't even really need it, and it'll be like it'll help you like I'm having a tough choice between this card, and it'll give you some info. Like you can read the little blurb that LSV said about said card,
If he
and
actually
that
did it for the set, because he did not do it for Alchemy Horizons.
yeah, if he did it, but yeah. So it's one of those things where it's like, okay, well, the draftsmith is trying to tell me that I should absolutely take this card, but based on my own experience, just in general, I know that this card, which is rated the third best, is a better choice in this situation. So,
Well, yeah, well, it doesn't take into account like how removal dense your deck is or how creature dense
yeah,
your deck is. It also uses that point system uses the cards in your pool as
yep,
a way to gauge them up or down.
yeah,
So like if you first pick say a green rare, right? And like you're 8 picks in and green's completely not open. So you've moved that rare to your sideboard. You're like it's not worth. I'm in like blue red or whatever now.
yeah.
It's like
It's still,
it'll uprank green cards because
even
you
if
have
they're
a
not
green
very
rare,
good. Yeah,
which so it's a little bit of a trap if you get cut off on a color. So in that scenario, you still have to like you know be good at
so
drafting. Like,
yeah, no. So good tool. Do not follow it religiously.
yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, just like take it with a grain of salt. It's good your first couple of drafts. I will say
Yeah,
that I really like it for that, where you can use it as a good point of reference for drafting your first like 3, 4 drafts. But in all realisticness, like unless you're a dedicated drafter, you're probably not even drafting more than 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
I draft when I have free player tokens, or when like it was Kamigawa and I just actually liked the draft format. Because I did not like New Capenna draft. You know,
Yeah, New Capenna was
well, like
and
let me clarify. I liked the
New Capenna
gameplay. I did not like the draft.
yeah, no, New Capenna also all depended on what rank you were playing at, because if you were in the lower ranks, you would just pick Bant and
Oh, you just
destroy
crush everybody.
everyone.
Yeah, just play blue,
Just
white,
crush
hex and
everybody,
win.
and then it got more complicated as things went up, and then you start finding yourself playing at like gold, and you're like, why am I playing this 5-color mess and winning games?
Yeah, well, it's because like everybody picks band. So
Yep.
like when you're at a table with a bunch of good drafters, everybody's gonna try and force the best archetype. So what's gonna
Yeah.
happen is the real skill then comes in with who can pick up the pieces the best. And there's gonna be at least one person who got the good Bant deck, and then there's
Yeah.
gonna be one person probably trying to play the really bad Bant deck, and then you're gonna have 6 people who like had to scrounge together what else they could get. Or the occasional somebody picked up on Grixis was wide open, so they just have this really stacked Grixis deck. In 3-color draft formats, it's especially hard because it's picking up the pieces typically will end up involving like playing 4 to 5 colors in your deck, and that can either be really, really good or really, really not so good.
I have
Polarized.
generally found that unless I'm super super deep into the draft, I will pick hostile takeover over anything, because if there's any way for me to play Grixis like reasonably, like I can always pick the card, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. I just have a hostile takeover. Like,
Well, I
give
agree with that.
me 20 gems after the draft is done.
No, it's just
But
like whenever I played Kamigawa, I would snap pick Invoke Despair.
yes, same.
It was the
Yep,
same
same
thing. It
deal.
was just like, well, if I don't end up in a deck that can play this, it's fine. But if I do, which I'll tell you, because I play that card in Pioneer now. Oh,
So good.
I can't tell. Well, there's so many games where you're just like, oh, you have nothing on the battlefield. All right, I'll play Invoke Despair. Deal 6 to you. I draw 3 cards. Like,
Yeah.
which is backbreaking. But there's also games where you're just like, I'll kill your Teferi. I'll eat a token. I'll eat that enchantment, and you're just like, I got a sick 3 for 1, and I feel really good about it.
Yeah, so many games I play that against a board where they have Meat Hook Massacre. It's like, well,
No, that's free. I
you
wouldn't have mind drawing a card, but.
that's your second Meat Hook Massacre, because you played it to destroy your first one, and
Yeah, it's not nothing. Like when you could just like snipe things. Like my favorite one is when you can use it to clean up a Fable of the Mirror Breaker.
oh yeah.
And you like eat the saga before it flips, because that card is. Have you been seeing, by the way, that card's starting to get played in modern,
Really?
in like decks like Teamer Rhinos and like Living End.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And it's
speaking
disgusting is when you're just like making Rhino tokens, or like even worse, the Elementals decks have started to pick it up. It makes those pitch Elementals really good, and you start copying the damn things. It's
if
like,
you off topic, but did you see the 100 Rhinos deck
I did see the 100 Rhinos deck.
that had no rhinos?
I respected it.
Oh, that I really enjoyed that video.
I respect Saffron Olive and the bold visionary that he is.
Yeah, the biggest brain play.
Goodness, those guys over at MTG Goldfish. Honestly, so in other like unrelated news, just kind of moving on from the topics of
Sure.
Pioneer, we were looking at the Command Fests are starting back up,
Yep.
and a lot of Commander players. Have you heard about the Mox champion Will Kruger posted a very understandable question to Magic Twitter. Very reasonable thought from a non-Commander player about Command Fest. So the casual format that you go to, you're going to this place where you're paying to get in the building to play a casual format with no prizes. what is the point of going unless you're playing for prizes?
Uh,
Oh,
just a sec. Okay, I'm back. Yeah. So
so
they've
first of all,
got
he
like
got eaten alive on Twitter for asking this.
yeah and that's the thing too. They've got like they've got the whole like I don't I can only know I've only really looked at the one that's happening in Orlando this weekend, which remember kids, always pay attention to the socials of the stores that are hosting them because you may go to sign up and find out it's sold out 6 days earlier. Uh, but
R.I.P. my guy.
they've got a thing where it's like, okay, you win tickets and then you can cash in the tickets for prizes.
Yeah, but like a lot of it is also free play. There's a
Yes.
whole free play area, which I
Yeah.
get. Like, so for me personally, it's like what Command Fest you can go and play for prizes, but a lot of people aren't going to do that. They're just going to go to play and hang out. And it's just like I get the question, right? I understand why as a non-commander player who has a lot of friends who play commander, I understand the thought because I also don't get it when I see friends like drop $1,000, between hotel and travel to go to a command fest,
Yeah.
only to be like, well, I don't want to play in the event itself because it's like CEDH and like I don't like that. It's like, why are you going then?
Yeah, no, the only reason I was going to go to this one is because I'm literally like a 20-minute drive from it.
Yeah, like if it's not an inconvenience, right? Like you're not
Yeah.
like going out of your way to go there, realistically.
Yeah.
Like that I get. I get like, oh, it's an hour drive away or whatever, so I can go down for the day and come home or whatever. But it's just like nowadays, it's like I don't know. It just seems like, especially you're paying $50 a day or whatever the rate is, and like that's it. Like you're buying to go. You're buying a ticket to an event where you're just gonna buy more stuff,
Yeah.
and then you're not gonna like see like you're paying money to buy things, and then like
Yeah,
play
yeah.
casual commander. And I'm like,
I
whenever,
understand too, like they had to rent out the space.
yeah, it costs money, right? I get that
Yeah.
part. I'm not damning them for doing it. It's also
No.
voluntary. Like they're not asking anybody to go. They're inviting you to go, but they're not
Yeah.
like demanding it by any stretch. Nor is $50 for an event ticket by convention standards realistically all that bad.
No, it's actually very reasonable. There's a convention later this fall that we're thinking about going to, and like the one day is like 75 or something. So
Exactly. Like it's not, cheap, but it's not like expensive either. So like,
yeah,
but I get why people want to go. It's a fun thing. There's gonna be lots of cosplaying. It's more of like a festival. They
yeah.
really shouldn't call it like
Well, I
they
mean,
call it
Command Fest,
Command
right?
Fest. They should call it Commander Con
Yeah,
because the
true.
truth is that it's a convention. Like it's not like because the way they talk about it with what they made Magic Fests into. Magic Fests were just like essentially Grand Prix with side events, and Command Fest spawned from that. It's like I'm shocked they didn't want to move away from that branding and just be like, we're gonna call them Commander Con,
Yeah.
and just like it's a convention. There's some events you can play in, but it's convention first,
Mm.
gameplay second. I think that would be better, or just call it Magic Con. Like go for like the Comic Con, style branding. Where it's like it's about going and like enjoying the spectacle of it, not going and playing Magic the Gathering.
Yeah.
Because I think when you look at it through that lens, it makes more sense why people go. Yeah, but I'm looking forward to going to Magic 30, which by the way, you have to pay to get into. You have to buy tickets
Yep.
to get into Magic 30, and then I'm pretty sure I have to pay to enter that stupid modern event on top of it.
Yep.
So,
Probably.
Lord knows how much that's going to be, because, they conveniently found beta boosters in a warehouse out in the middle of nowhere.
It's is it the same warehouse?
Yeah, it was. I have to imagine it was. Are you kidding me? If their Legends product was in there, then their beta product was in there.
Yeah, I mean,
This whole Legends thing, which it's just to clarify for our viewers. So they put out a video today with my favorite MTG personality on air, Marshall Sutcliffe, where they're talking about the what is it? What are they calling it? Legends Beyond?
Oh,
No,
no, it was we have it in our chat here. Lost Legends.
Lost Legends. So there's a 3% chance that you will open a card from Legends in the collector boosters for Dominaria United. Which we should talk about the spoilers that came out for that too.
Yeah, I've everything up, so I knew we were
Perfect.
gonna get to it eventually.
And so few things. They were like they presented it as, oh yeah, a warehouse that we were using out in the middle of nowhere that totally exists but doesn't have the internet or a phone you can call because they're
But that was
closed now.
it was in Washington, right?
Out in the middle of the desert in Washington, yes. And they went out there, and they had to get their product that they had stored there, and they're like, well, we found a case of Legends. Now, this is not news, to clarify. We've had rumors that
Yeah.
we recently had cards sent to a printer that Magic uses that
Yes.
involved Revised and Legends.
Yes.
Now, I don't want to wear a tinfoil hat in the literal sense. But I'm pretty sure this is just a really, really shitty lie to get away with reprinting Legends
Now,
cards.
I'm gonna go. So as a person who has done a lot of warehouse stuff, I'm gonna go ahead and counter with, I have found stuff just digging, just not even like hidden per se, just laying around from like literally like 2003.
Yeah, I'm not saying that it's impossible, right?
Yeah,
It's definitely not what I'm saying, especially because it's like a remote warehouse that they have.
Yeah.
But it's like two things. That would imply that they've been using that warehouse since 1994. Which I don't know if you know this. If it was out in the middle of the desert, I don't know what kind of warehouse that was built in the 90s that would have pristine quality Magic cards hanging out in it for 28 years. I
Yeah,
kind of doubt that they would have been in the good condition that they looked like they were. Just the packaging alone.
Like, you'd have to assume that the sealed boxes were in a case or something, because those sealed boxes were very pristine. I'll give you that.
Yeah, like they were in a case. They said they were in a case, so that means they were likely sealed in cardboard, right?
Yep.
Taped shut and whatnot. But at the same time, it's like, so you're telling me that for 28 years they never like went out there once?
Yeah, it's
Like not even once, not even as like part of an audit, just to see like why are we paying for this storage space? Because I guarantee you, especially with how many times because in that time, Wizards of the Coast has changed ownership. They were bought by Hasbro, which would have done a full audit of expenditures. They went public as part of that.
Yes.
Meaning they would have had to like show all their expenditures, which would also like lead to some type of audit internally. So it's just like, so we just like let that hang out forever. We were just paying for storage space.
I can just imagine now the person who discovered this was like, what's that pallet up there with the yellowed piece of paper that says DNI on it?
Do not inspect, please. Yeah, like honestly, it's one of those things. Like, if it wasn't for that rumor that was like leaked by somebody who said they worked at the printer, which we do get, by the way, a lot of leaks that way, so it's not impossible that it has some legitimacy. Like, it honestly, it's like, it feels like Wizards of the Coast lying about reprinting their revised list cards because their revised list thing is like a secondary market thing. Like, why would they ever lie about it? Why would Wizards of the Coast lie to Magic players about reprinting stuff that's worth a lot of money?
Oh yeah,
Also, I can't wait for the people who are gonna crack like shitty commons from Legends that aren't worth
Oh,
anything. Oh,
Cobalt of Keep. They were talking about that on
Chef's
the.
kiss. For
They
every
were talking about that
tabernacle,
on
there's
the.
80 shitty cards.
I recently joined the $2 tier for Mr. Pleasant Kenobi, and they're talking about like, yes, I'm gonna spend $4,000 hoping to get a tabernacle and get a Cobalt of Care.
Yeah, the truth is though, it's like it's 3% of collector packs. We don't know how many collector packs come in a collector box for this set. Like it was 4 for Double Masters. And if this continues at that rate, it'll probably be like -4 by the time Dominaria comes around. That'd be like
I the premium set. They didn't want to do the $100 super boosters again, so
that's. Oh, you mean nobody bought those? Nobody bought the
yeah.
$100 super booster.
We had one person at a local store that we shared who bought like, $9,000 worth of them, and that was only because the store owner was like, so what you're saying is you will sell me the cards that you opened from the $100 booster that you already gave me the money for and get more packs, and then you're just going to sell those cards back to me for more packs. And he's like, yeah, I see this is a win.
Magic isn't gambling at all.
No.
Oh, you're getting a little choppy. Yeah, let me see if I can't make that better at all. Discord.
Booster box. Oh, not to mention that whole thing with the retail packaging looking like a collector booster box.
Now you're coming through better.
Okay.
Might have just been temporary. Yeah, I honestly, it's like people are gonna open so few of
Okay,
these.
it used to be 12.
Of these Legends cards. Like my thing is like I get like they're opening a whole case, right? And they're going to be shoving them in collector boosters, which is not how the printing process works, by the way. That's not how it works at all. They're not shoving
that's the thing.
physical cards one at a time into booster packs.
Well, that's the thing too. They have the video of them sorting it, which is nice and all, but if they're sending these to a printer, they're gonna have to go through a machine, and these cards are going to get damaged unless they're, even if they were all put in like perfect fit hards, they're gonna get damaged by the machine.
Listen, I only want a tabernacle that's been like crimped like an apple pie. Like,
oh yeah, no.
like I want to be sure that the seal on that bad boy is airtight.
Oh, and that is important to mention too. For those of you who are hoping to get copies of cards from controversial artists or cards with controversial art, they have removed all those. That's part of the reason they were sorting them.
Yes, because that was a thing back then.
Yes.
Unfortunately. But let's talk about something a little more positive, because I'll be honest, I don't like that Legends thing. I like it in general, but like I definitely foresee the that whole thing kind of just being dumb more than anything else. Or it's gonna be a lot of people being like, "Oh, I opened the shitty Legends cards," but like, and then like one person bragging online about how he totally opened a tabernacle and immediately sold it, didn't take any pictures.
Yeah. Oh, so before we move into the actual previews, I just want to talk about the absolutely gorgeous textless Omnath Locust of Creation.
Oh yes, the Store Championship winner promo.
Yes, which is also incredible because that card has like a dictionary's worth of text on it.
Oh yeah, that card that has like a landfall trigger that changes with every land drop. Yeah. It's not important to have the text on that one.
I was saying to you, remember the alchemy card with the scroll bar? This is how we print them in paper.
Yeah, you just make them all textless and you're good to go.
Make them all textless.
Problem solved. Bridge that gap. All right, let's talk about the previews. So there's
Yes.
two kinds of previews. We have the Legends. What do they call it again?
Uh oh, these ones are Legends Retold, I
Yeah,
believe.
the Legends Retold. So we're getting classic characters like Ramirez Di Pietro,
Yeah.
Tor Walkie the Younger, as in he's a younger
Specifically,
version of himself.
well, no, because there are two people with the same name in the story apparently.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, and then we're getting and so far we've got Ramirez, Torwalki the Younger, Jasmine Boreal of the Seven. So basically these are retold versions of these characters. Like
mhm.
perfect example is Ramirez Di Pietro. Last time we saw him as a character in a set, he was a ghost.
Yep.
So the fact is, we're getting him as a living, breathing, human pirate, which is exciting. I like that they're doing that. They're going to be inserting those into box toppers as well as they'll be in like the set and collector booster packs, which I think is fine.
Mhm.
Fun little commander things you can insert into products is never necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah.
Be curious to see how good those cards get, but exciting nonetheless. Um, they did spoil for this set the game day promos. What was it? Sarah Angel, Ball Lightning, and
Yes.
Findhorn Elves is just this previews in German. Which will have the classic border with the retro
Yeah.
foiling version, so the retro premium print with the retro premium set symbol. They'll be stamped with the year they came out as well
Yeah.
in gold, and I think they might have the store, but I can't remember if they were doing that again. But exciting. They're not great cards by today's standards. Findhorn Elves
No.
sees play in like mono green commander decks because it's just like another Llanowar Elves, but
Yeah, no, exactly. And it's also a druid, which is relevant for those decks.
yeah. So these are non-standard reprints that'll be happening. We've got a few cards from the actual set. So first one that stuck out to me was the new Jaya. Jaya, Fiery
Yes.
Negotiator. I'm a big fan of Jaya. I loved her Dominaria card. I was so sad that she sucked so bad. Because
Yeah.
I was really funny as I remember playing with her, I modeled my deck that I was playing her in after how you played Chandra Torture Defiance, which was that you
Mm,
played 3 mana red things that when you could play her plus her for mana and cast a 3 mana red thing. And
yeah.
for her, it had to be an instant or sorcery. So like my idea was like a 3 mana deal damage sweeper, like Anger of the Gods or something like that. So new Jaya though, 4 abilities. She's a 4 mana planeswalker through 4 starting loyalty. +1, make a 1/1 red monk with prowess. So she just makes prowess monks.
Which is great because it also is a form of protection in a red deck, which is normally not.
Yeah, usually you have to down tick to get something like that in a
Yep.
red planeswalker, where you're being able to either block for it or you know uh, you know kill something with damage. We're getting her -1, exile top 2 cards of your library, choose one of them. You may play that card this turn. So that's a classic kind of the new
Yep.
standard for red, divination style effects.
Yeah. Magmatic Channeler. Uh.
Oh,
The
even
Witness.
Unlucky Witness
Yeah. Unlucky
works
Witness. Yep.
basically works the same. Templated slightly differently, but
Yes.
virtually the same.
Yeah.
Minus
It is.
two,
It is more like Magmatic Challenge.
exactly. That's a
Channeler.
perfect example of the card. -2, choose target creature an opponent controls. Whenever you attack this turn, Jaya deals damage equal to the number of attacking creatures you control to that creature.
Yes.
Which that's a really solid ability.
Oh, absolutely.
So she's very clearly an aggressive planeswalker just with that
Yeah.
ability alone.
And that is great because 4 is a top end for a lot of these
Like,
aggressive strategies, and
oh
then
yeah,
she creates more creatures for the aggressive strategy. She minuses to remove big blockers that are going to get in way of your little guys. Um,
I could
obviously
see
she hasn't.
this slotting directly into red aggro decks in Pioneer.
Yeah,
Because like they have
it's
stuff like Carry Zev, where it's like two
yeah.
attackers in one, which already pairs super well with stuff like this. So yeah, this seems like a
Oh yeah,
perfect
that's true.
perfect kind of card to be like a 2 of on my top end instead of something like, say, Torbran, where he's like very one-dimensional. This card very multi-dimensional. But yeah.
And as with most planeswalkers, she has an ultimate, but it might as well be a blank space.
I mean, I don't think that's necessarily a lot of the red aggro decks, say in Pioneer, don't actually play that many instants and sorceries, but
Yeah.
still, you Spike Field Hazard with that emblem, like that's just a deal 9. Like it's like definitely worse than say Torch of Defiance ultimate, right? But it's
Yeah.
also like still very capable of winning a game.
Though if you were to play it with Vorin clicks, it comes into play with 8 and you can ult right away.
That's true. Yeah, that's fairly relevant, especially for you commander players out there who would be,
Yeah.
kind of seeing those two cards land in the same space.
Yeah, and then you'd be doubling season, primal vigor, all that jazz.
Yeah, exactly. All those like templates of effects. We also got a kicker spell, meaning we're getting kicker again. Not surprising. It was a feature in Dominaria back in 2018. Kicker, so not shocking to see it make a return here. But Temporal Firestorm, 5 mana. Kicker is blue and a white and or 1 and a blue. I'm sorry, a 1 and a white and or a 1 and a blue. I said that wrong. It's choose up to X target creatures or planeswalkers, where X is the number of times this spell was kicked. Those permanents phase out, and then it's deal 5 damage to each creature and each planeswalker. So it's another like burn down the house, hour of devastation, sweeper for 5, where it's like 5 to everything, including the planeswalkers, but you could phase out your own stuff.
I am hoping to see more of these because this is the Teferi Jaya combo attack.
Yes, it is, which I
And
really like that idea.
I love that. So I'm definitely hoping to see like some more, kicker from a 2-color planeswalker assisting a 1-color planeswalker kind of stuff.
Can it just be like the like Jace and like Dak Faden's corpse? Just to like really piss off the fanboys, like we'll make it like the most broken card out of the cycle.
Let's see. We haven't seen a whole so Ajani's there. So okay, so the art on the box is Liliana and Ajani. That's clearly one of the kicker spells, right?
Oh, easily, yeah. We're gonna probably get those two together. I'm happy that so we're getting Jaya as our red walker, Ajani as our white, Liliana as our black, Teferi's our blue. We don't know what our green planeswalker is gonna be here.
That's true.
So that'll be interesting to see. It might be Vivian Reed. She's kind of popular, but she's also seen a lot of recent printings. Maybe
Yeah,
Anissa
she's
would
had
make
she's
sense.
a lot. Yeah, we don't want to they probably don't want to exhaust her like they did with Nissa
And
and Jace
Jace and Chandra
and
and
Chandra.
Liliana.
Yeah, and
Like they did with
Liliana.
the Gatewatch, basically.
Yes, basically.
Because I like the idea of like every year we'll maybe get like a Vivian Reed, or every other year we'll get a Vivian Reed, and then the other year we'll get a Garruk or a Nissa or whoever. Like
Mhm.
I don't mind having like a steady cast that you kind of move some in, move some out. But like we're definitely not getting like say 2 Jaces in 1 year or 2 Jaces in 2 years. We're getting one Jace maybe every other year, and even then we don't always get a Jace. Because right now I don't even think we have a Jace that's been printed for quite a while.
No, the last Jace was in. Oh God, was that?
Was it Shadows? That's the last one I can remember was the Shadows over Innistrad, or no, Ixalan came after that.
Ixalan? No. So that would be War of the Spark.
I suppose, yeah, War of the Spark would be our last time we had a Jace, which
Yeah,
was
last time
2019.
we had a Jace, and then he's kind of just fallen off the planet.
That turns out nobody actually liked him.
Which is fine. He needs a vacation.
Well, that's the thing is, I don't mind, like, we've gotten a lot of Tefris. And it doesn't help that all of the Tefris have been good, minus 2. Well, I suppose now we're at, like, 50-50 range. But, like,
Yeah.
Teferi, Time Raveler has been so good that people, like, didn't want to, like, play in formats where it's legal.
Yeah.
But yes, very exciting to see. I'm curious who our Green Planeswalker is going to be. Maybe they're going to be
Now,
the bad guy for once.
So yeah, that's true. We've got a couple too. Like, so you mentioned Vivian. Vivian was in New Capenna, helping out uh Urabrask,
Mhm.
um with investigations of into Halo, right?
Mhm.
But she didn't really know what was going on in that
Yeah.
whole storyline.
She's more
Um
like a mercenary in that, or like a
yeah,
PI.
she's more of a merc.
Yeah.
Garrick hasn't been around in a while.
No, I think the last
We-
time we got him was the last core set.
Yeah, so
I guess
haven't
technically
seen.
we got him in like the his historic stuff. We gotta
That's true. Um,
could get a
then
Kiora, a green Kiora,
Kiora.
because she's a Simic planeswalker. So
I was also thinking Green Calyx,
yeah, it's true. Could get a Calyx. He would be something that we
though he's chasing Elspeth. So unless Elspeth is here, I'm not sure he would
That's
show
true.
up.
Yeah.
Um, it'd be crazy if like maybe a Johnny wasn't the white one, but he was the green one, and Elspeth or some other white planeswalker switch it up.
That is a possibility, yeah, where we get a Greena Johnny. I mean, I feel like he is a base white planeswalker, but like, yeah,
Yeah,
I wouldn't mind. I think my vote for ones I would actually want is probably Gyrick or Nissa, because like, I mean,
yeah,
obviously like how they slot into the story is one thing, but like just also we haven't gotten one of them in standard in a long time. So I think it'd just
true.
be fun to have one, but that's neither here nor there. Just excited to see how these cycles of cards work out, and really excited to see like our new Liliana Planeswalker and our new Ajani Planeswalker as well. So
Yeah, absolutely.
less excited to see the new Teferi going into that one with some cautious optimism, because
Ooh,
they don't get the
okay.
best track record.
Let's look at the draft booster box. Who do we have here? We've got Joda,
That's not
Archmage
shocking.
Eternal. Um, who's this person with the sword? I don't recognize her. Rada?
Yeah,
Is
I'll
that
take a look.
Is that Rada?
Uh, Product packaging.
Yeah, that looks like Rada to me.
Let's take
So
a
we're gonna
peek
get another
here.
Rada, potentially.
Oh, why am I not? You should shoot me the link you're looking at.
Yeah, I'll
I'm not finding it on my own.
So this is just the eBay listing.
Oh, okay.
So I'll shoot that to you. So it's got the picture of the cover art. But yeah, it looks like Joda, Rada, Karn. It looks like the Weatherlight is in the background,
Yeah, that would appear to be the Weatherlight. Yeah, maybe we'll get a
which
Joda. Well, didn't he's not a plane. He gave up being a planeswalker, right?
yes, he did.
Yeah. Well, I suppose we'll get a new Karn. Maybe we'll get a green Karn.
That'd be interesting.
I think that'd be a neat twist on him.
And then it's also important to note too that I was seeing here that this is temporal firestorm, so I wonder if they're gonna do time travel shenanigans again, but I
Might
hope
be.
not.
I hope it's more like kind of like what they did with Innistrad, where it's like he's not like changing time, he's like slowing time to postpone
Yeah.
the inevitable. Thought that was really cool. By the way, the basic lands in this set are gorgeous.
Oh, the stained glass,
Yeah,
yeah.
these like stained glass lands, these are gonna be a fantastic addition to the game. I'm not sure if I would play these in paper, but I'll definitely play them on Arena.
I
Because in
will play
paper, these
four.
would feel very out of place in like my modern deck, for example.
Yeah, no, I think it's very much like when I had a mono white Heliod EDH deck, Sun Crowned, the combo king.
Mm-hmm.
Um and I was playing the full arts from that set.
Yeah, the
Because it was
Pokemon energy
thematic with,
cards.
yeah, the energy cards, yeah. But it was thematic, and I was also trying to play as many foils as possible because, godliness.
Sure. Yeah, like those. I struggle playing with those ones too. Like I have a collection of John Avon original unhinged lands. That's what I have.
Hmm.
Because that's what feels right to me. So I always play with
Yeah.
those. But yeah, like honestly, it's one of those things where it's like, eh, eh.
That
Because
actually reminds
I
me.
like these for arena, and like I'll play them on Moto or whatever, but like not besides that. But there's some other interesting cards to review here. So the other one, this one stood out to me because I was like, why is this a mythic? Was Shivan Devastator.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically it's Mist Cutter Hydra, but worse.
Mm-hmm.
Because this way it's red X flying haste enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it. So it's a fireball on a creature. They can only hit your opponent or a planeswalker they
Yeah.
control. But it doesn't have trample. It doesn't have protection. It can't be. It can be countered, and it can be fatal pushed. So it's just like this feels like it's mythic because it's a draft bomb. I feel like where
Yeah,
like play
I
like a
definitely
5 mana 4/4 flying haste and draft is really good.
I do think too it doesn't have like a story spotlight thing on it, but the flavor text mentions you know, this is an example of like why Shieldred didn't want to invade Shiv.
I feel
Um
like that's why it was part of the initial spoilers. Is just because it
yeah,
has flavor text referencing a Phyrexian.
yeah.
Because I
And
think that's what they're really trying to get everybody excited.
yeah, and exactly, and I'm thinking too it's the original idea for mythics were to be like, you know, exciting story-driven cards. Um, and I think this card, while not very good, it falls more into line with that as opposed to like mythic power level kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, in draft, it's mythic power level for
Oh,
sure. Like
absolutely,
just
yeah.
being
No,
like
this is
this is like the quintessential draft mythic. To
yeah,
is what
no,
it looks like to me. But
absolutely,
yeah, I definitely agree. Like part of the other reason it would be mythic is specifically because of the flavor text it has. Where
yeah.
they
And
want that
I
to
will,
seem like, and they want the dragon to feel like a big deal.
yeah, and it is interesting to mention too, is we talk about gambling and loot boxes, and that is a thing that is true, but it is also important to note that draft packs are designed as their own game pieces.
Yes,
um,
that's correct.
and they are and the rarities ideally, though sometimes I would question this, are should be designed around that draft experience.
That's correct.
Uh, but collector boosters and set boosters are just loot boxes.
That is
Uh,
correct. No, I agree. This is the I opened this card in my set booster.
yes, this
And
is
in my
yeah.
draft pack, when I'm drafting, it's like, oh yeah, I opened this card. Like,
Oh
it's
yeah,
like
this is
it's so. That's actually one of the things I actually strongly dislike about set boosters and collector boosters, where it's like there's a lot of cards in these sets that are clearly not meant for collectors, and they're clearly not meant for constructed necessarily. This is a
yeah,
card that could get played in constructed under certain circumstances, to clarify, but at the same time, it's like the bar for like this kind of card to be good is very specific,
yeah.
and it's typically worse than other on curve options typically, but that we'll see how the format shakes out, because this will be a rotation set for us.
Oh, that's
this
true.
this will
Yeah.
be a big standard rotation. It's like Goldspan Dragon, for example, rotates out of standard with this set. But
Mm,
still excited to see. Shame they
yeah.
wasted the art on this card, because that's a sick art with the Dragon Hydra.
That is it is very good art.
Also, why is the
It is one of
Dragon
those.
Hydra not green red?
That is a good point.
Just a
You
side
you
note.
yeah, people always talk about cards with amazing art not being super good, and then the artist doesn't necessarily see the kind of
No,
demand for their
exactly.
prints and stuff that they would see. Like Bedevil is an incredible art,
It is, but it's a
and
fucking
but
lackluster card, so nobody
yeah,
gives a
yeah,
shit.
it's not bad. It's not a bad card. It's just
Oh.
very
It
underwhelming.
was bad in its format, because
Yeah,
like it was like fine, but it was like it never broke through the glass ceiling, and
yeah,
it was never gonna cut it in any other format, where it had to compete with cards like Colgan's Command and other things. And I mean, occasionally we saw it in Historic, but like it wasn't like Hero's Downfall, where like
yeah.
it was a 4 of in every black deck or whatever, because like it was just really, really the best thing you could be doing at 3 mana for a removal spell.
Any version of Thoughtseize, like
Exactly, like powerful cards that end up being with good art make those arts. I think like one with like what is it? One with nothing has a fantastic piece of art on it,
Oh, it's incredible.
but it's such a shitty card that nobody remembers it.
Yeah.
So it's just unfortunate. But
Yeah.
let's move on to our one of the next spoilers. This one I thought was really interesting. Evolved Sleeper. So one
Yes.
mana, 1/1 human. It's one of those like Warden of the First Tree, Speaker of Destiny cards. So
Yeah.
it's like level. It's
Ascendant.
level up, but like yeah, Ascendant Spirit being another probably more relevant example. But like it's a level up card, big quotes because it doesn't actually
Yep.
level up. But for one black, it becomes a human cleric with base power and toughness 2/2. And then for one in a black, if it's a cleric, it gets put a death touch counter on it. Very notable that it does a
Ooh,
counter actually.
that's relevant.
And it becomes a Phyrexian human cleric with base and power toughness 3/3. And for 3 mana, which is actually really good rate by the standards of these cards, because usually it was like 1/3/5 for a lot
Yes.
of these effects, or even 1/2/5 in some instances, or 1/2/4. But for 3, if it's a Phyrexian, it gets a 1/1 counter on it, and you draw a card, lose 1 life.
Which is
For 3 mana,
great.
that's pretty reasonable when it's turning you would never put the card 3 mana, put a 1/1 counter on target Phyrexian, draw a card, and lose 1 life in your deck outside a draft,
No.
but like when it's stapled onto the bottom of a card, you'll gladly take that effect.
Oh yeah. I mean, let's see. Like, uh, it's. I mean, I have paid 2 mana to lose 2 life and draw 1 card.
Notable,
You
by the
know.
way, you can activate these all at instant speed,
Yes. That
which
is very
actually
important.
is different than some of these cards, because some of them were at sorcery speed.
And is that's true. Yeah. What would you say the mana value of a +1/+1 counter is? I'd
I
say
would
like
say
half.
like half a mana to 1 mana.
Yeah, I was gonna say half a mana. This might come up later in one of our podcast ideas because I want to talk about hardened scales.
Oh, sure. I actually think a really good topic like would be yeah, like what is the mana value of a thing? Because I think
Yeah.
a really perfect example of like that conversation is why is Arkham's Astrolabe broken but Prophetic Prism unplayable?
Yeah. No,
Like,
absolutely.
like
Or
how much is that effect actually worth? Because here's the other thing: because I always draw the comparison. It's like, well, Arkham's Astrolabe was so good it got banned in Legacy and Modern, yet
mhm,
Prophetic Prism exists, but is remotely. It's not even playable. It's not even. It is a joke if you wanted to play
yeah.
that card. Mana Silex is also a legal card, and it is also equally a joke.
Yeah.
So why is one worth so much more than the other? And that's a really good discussion to talk about. Of like, what's the mana value of drawing a card? How many cards is a scry worth? Like,
Yeah. And
those
then
are
what was it
good fundamentals, which I wanted to talk to you about an idea for some YouTube content. I think you and I
ooh,
would
okay.
like to work on, as well
Yeah,
as
cuz
it could
we
be some written content to go with it.
our Selesnya hardened scales deck too, the Raptor was like what was the real mana value? We talked about, oh, okay, this is realistically a 4 mana card, and then it
Exactly,
seems
Huatli's
much
Raptor. It's
worse.
like you could play this on 2 if you specifically played a Pelt Collector or like a 1/1 Stonecoil Serpent or whatever. But like
Yeah,
that's the floor, not the ceiling.
yeah, and
Like, and
you're
it's not
not.
even like mid. Like,
Yeah, no, and you're not even. If you were playing maybe a Selesnya aggressive deck,
yeah,
maybe that would slot in better, but that's not. We were running a counters deck.
exactly. Where it's like that proliferated. We wanted it for its proliferate, so that means we don't want to play it on turn 2. So when we're in
Yep.
deck building, we should decide like what turn do we actually want to play this card on and slot it there. So I think that'd be a fun episode for our next
Yes.
podcast.
Oh, and for those of you who use Moxfield, a very interesting feature of Moxfield is you can manually change the mana value of a card in your deck for that specific deck.
That's correct. You can do
So
that. I think they did that in part. For that, well, it's for really that explicit purpose. Because like
yeah.
when I'm building physical decks, for example, I do that exact same thing. Like I got like, you know,
Mm,
I'll set my cards like what's a good example of this? I'm trying to think of the best example.
I'm thinking any of the any of the channel cards, when I was drafting
Oh yeah, yeah,
Kamigawa, when I was deck building, I was putting them at their channel cost, especially if they were only in there because I could channel them.
well, in constructed, what we do with those is if you're playing. So this happens mostly with Buseiju, because
Mhm.
it's the only one that you typically would play multiple copies of. It's like the first one goes in the land spot. It's only
Yep.
sometimes being channeled. It's most of the time a land. But when we start playing the second copy, it's like, well, this is a spell that's sometimes a land now.
Yeah.
So now it has to move into the 2 mana spot.
Yeah, so at
So
that
it's
point it's like a MDFC.
exactly at that point you got to start looking at it differently. I think that's a really good lesson to teach people. Um, Especially because in deck building, that's a really important thing. But Evolved Sleeper, though, just kind of coming back to
Yes.
the card we were
Yes,
talking about,
absolutely.
I like these designs. I think they're really cool. Like,
Hmm.
I think every one of them has been relevant in somewhere. Like, Warden of the First Tree was relevant in its standard in, like, the
Yep.
Abzan aggro decks with its hybrid cost to
Yes, that was
evolve.
very important.
Um, Ascendant Spirit has shown up in Pioneer slash Explorer. I don't really think it saw much play in Standard, to be honest, but still, because that
It,
one had the restriction of it had to be snow mana.
yeah.
Figure of Destiny was played in its Standard a good bit, because it was just
Yes.
like, you could just sort of level it up as it was convenient. A card very similar in design, Jiraga Tree Speaker, was really good.
Yep.
Uh, just like being like this mana neutral, turn 1, turn 2, still be able to play a 2 drop. So like these designs have usually found a home somewhere, so I love them
Hmm.
for that. But they're also like super interesting, and like they make the game feel deeper because like this adds like a sub game of like, when do I pay to do it? Do they have a removal spell? Is it worth me
Yeah.
paying it, or do I play my spell? And it adds good decision points to a game, I feel.
Yeah. Are you? That's also things like, okay, do I level up in their end step, and then if they have a removal spell, they have to spend their mana now, so I'm open to play cards on my turn because they spent their mana.
Exactly. And yeah, so it creates a lot of good question and answer scenarios. So I'm really excited for that. The last card they spoiled that's actually from the set proper was Llanowar Loam Speaker.
Yes.
This card really struck me as interesting. So it's a 2 mana 1/3, good stats for 2 drops by standard purposes at least. Tap for any one color of mana, really important after a set like New Capenna. Uh,
Hmm. Yes.
Then also for 0 mana, tap target land you control becomes a 3/3 creature with haste
Yeah.
until the end of turn. It's still a land activate only as a sorcery. I think that card has, out of all of the cards we talked about, the most potential to be just absolutely ludicrously busted. There's
It is.
specifically one card that I would want to play this with, and that is Jeskai Ascendancy.
I was gonna say just guys Henderson. Yeah.
Because like those decks play Sylvan Awakening to turn all their things into
Yep.
creatures. This is just, I have it already on my thing that also makes mana. So
Yep.
like I just like do the thing over and over again until like I've gotten everything I need. So I really like this card. I think a lot of commander players are really gonna like this card. I think a
Oh,
lot of
absolutely.
pioneer and explorer players, when we eventually get Jeskai Ascendancy on Arena, are really gonna have fun tinkering around with that idea. And it's probably going to see a good bit of standard play, because 2 mana dorks to tap for any color of mana usually see a good bit of play.
Oh, and it's a 1/3.
It's a
Like,
1/3. Yeah, it can block 1/1s, like,
and
effectively.
it doesn't have defender, so it can actually attack.
Yeah, it can
So,
also send it in. As well as just, the incremental, oh, I don't have anything to do with my 1 mana from this land, crack you for
oh yeah.
3. Like, that's pretty reasonable when it's all said and done. Because you're essentially paying 1 mana to do it, because if you're attacking with the land, it is of course going to be tapped, but that's a very strong effect. Also, notably, if you do something like animate a like, what's a good example of a land if you do this with it, where you can animate a what the, oh my gosh, creature lands like the fuck one am I thinking of? The colorless one, Crawling Barrens,
Yep.
where you can just like do interesting stuff like that. Where because if you attack with it and then activate it, you just choose not to make it a 0/0 with counters. It just gets counters.
Yep.
You just choose you decline the optional part, which is really cool. So like there's little fun little tricks you can do with stuff like that, and I really like it when you're able to do stuff like that because it
Oh yeah.
makes for a much more interesting game, we'll say. Alright, well, that's all the cards they spoiled. There's also a few of the Legends Retold. I don't think we'll really get into reviewing these.
Mhm.
If you're interested in checking them out, go to the MTG Goldfish page. We've only gotten 3 of them so far.
Yeah.
They're only legal in Commander, so it's just like they're not standard legal cards.
Mhm.
Some really cool ones like Ramirez DiPietro. I'm looking forward to seeing that in Commander.
It's
Uh,
very cool.
this
Yeah.
is just a fun pirate. Pirates is a beloved Commander jank archetype, and
Yes.
more support the better, I guess.
They did reveal the 2 boxes for some of the commander decks. I don't know if they're doing more than 2 this time, or if they're just doing 2. It's a Mardu deck named Legends Legacy, so I'm thinking we're getting another Legends Matter commander in that.
Oh sure, that would make
And then
sense. Legendary's a typical sub theme of Dominaria.
yeah, and we are getting the first 5-color pre-constructed commander deck in a very, very long time, and it's called Painbow.
Painbow. Okay,
Painbow, yes. And
interesting. I like that.
some of the preview art has a new Braids,
Oh,
another beloved
classic
character.
Dominaria character.
Yeah, particularly by a Miss Cube April.
Naturally.
So
Also, they
exciting,
this is the
exciting for
first
them.
set we're gonna start getting our set to set jumpstart sets.
That's true.
I'm kind of curious how they're gonna do these because
Yes.
they haven't really gone into it too much as far as like original cards.
No, they've just done themes. They're telling us which themes we're getting.
Yeah, and so I'd be interested to see if they're gonna have original cards, like how that's gonna work for like say Arena.
Oh yeah.
Like I wouldn't mind if they just because my thing, the friendliest thing they could do is just like you put them into store boosters, and
Mhm.
they just are part of the set when you crack packs like prize packs and set packs.
Yeah.
But like if you're doing draft packs, they're not in there because they're not meant to
Mhm.
be in the draft environment.
Yeah.
So I think that would probably be the easiest way to do it for Arena, as well as it just it dilutes the set more, which technically makes them more money. But
Yeah.
or maybe you just put one in every set pack or whatever, and there's like a whatever chance of it being a rare, kind of like they did with the Mystical Archive. Or you
Oh
just
yeah.
sell it as its own thing as like an event, and you just like add them to the. Because I don't mind when they do that. It's just when they make like cards like fucking Allosaurus Shepherd.
Oh yeah.
It does create problems even on Arena where it's like, well, I gotta play this Mythic rare in my green decks because it's just required. And then I have to start spending Mythic rares on Arena, which I dislike. Or maybe they'll do it in an anthology system. Because I think it wouldn't be unrealistic for Wizards of the Coast to switch everything to that, like, CCG sale
Yeah.
model on Arena specifically.
I think the CCG model is way friendlier. And it still provides an avenue for them to, pull this profit that they don't, necessarily
My thing is,
uh
it's like you could. I think it should be set up in a few ways. You should be able to buy wild cards for whatever dollar amount,
yeah.
and then for whatever X dollar amount, we'll say for just the sake of conversation, for $100 flat, you get 4 cards from. You get 4 copies of every card in the set,
Yeah,
just
just for the
for
set.
straight up $100. Like,
Yeah, I
or
mean,
you
I
so
would.
yeah, you could choose to do that, but you don't have to do it. You can just buy wild cards to get specifically what you want if you want to spend less money.
Yeah, and you can still draft. I mean,
Yeah, and
you're
you
not
should still
get,
have draft and whatnot. That's its own thing.
yeah,
But it should
which
all just be wild card progression, unless you don't have
yeah,
to because like that. Then it's like, well, if I bought this because I play construct and I do a draft, then I just get wild card progression on everything, and I get some kickback or whatever. But I think that would be realistic, and I feel like they would still
mhm,
make a lot of money. Because most people don't buy. I would say most people would feel more comfortable spending $100 because there's a lot of people who probably don't spend $100,
yeah,
right? That they would get to spend $100 because they feel it's worth it now because they get
yeah,
4 copies of every card.
because they actually get the value.
They know they're like, oh, I can just play with every card that's in standard now because I just had 4 copies of every card. And then like things like the bad mythics that's in there for draft feels less bad, right? Like, because then I'm not like buying a pack and cracking a shitty rare. Like I just have the shitty rare because it came with all of the good rares that I bought. And I feel like that would be the friendliest way to do it personally. While also like maintaining like sure some people will come down to $100, but I think more people will come up to $100.
Yeah, if you're bringing in more people, that's going to be more valuable than the people you already have spending a little bit less, I think.
Oh, exactly. It's like if you have 5 people who each spend $500, and like 40 people who spend $50, right? If you get those 40 people to spend 100, you're still getting like, you know, you're getting $50 a pop, so you're getting like $2,000 more, and
Yeah.
like all you did was you gave up $1,600 to make $2,000.
Hmm.
Like, and I think that's fine. Plus, more people are playing is the big,
Yes.
because that's the other part is then you get more people engaging with the game when you do that because it became easier to get into. Still making your money, and I agree. I don't disagree that they need to make money. It's a
No,
business.
absolutely. I mean, they have to pay people, right?
Exactly,
Like,
they have to pay people. So like, I've never been opposed to them making money off of Arena, but I would really that would be the most realistic thing I could see them switching to, like in the like near future. And honestly, I would be all for it.
yeah.
If I was speaking to the board, I'd be like, I think this is the better monetization model. I think more
Yeah.
people will spend more money, and I think the people who draft and only draft will still continue to only draft.
Yeah,
They just don't care.
like I'm not gonna hoist Legends of Runeterra onto the throne as like the keep
Economically, they're
exampling.
number one.
Yeah, well, you know, their their system's still not perfect. It's just the best we have.
Well,
So
exactly.
it's
Like it's
yeah,
still number one in the rankings, but it's not.
yeah,
The only perfect system would be like where you spend like $10 a month and you just have everything. It
yeah.
would be
But
like
the
something that friendly, but that's not realistic.
no. So like I'm just saying like we need more Legends of Runeterra and less Diablo Immortal.
Exactly. Because like Diablo Immortal was like that. That's like to an extreme. Like
Yeah,
that
it
makes Magic Arena look friendly by
oh
comparison.
yeah, no, and it's a game that I played for free for a little bit, didn't play through the story entirely. I
Mm-hmm.
enjoyed what I did. I didn't throw them any money. I was just like, okay, well, uninstall. Like I
Yeah,
had
Ellie
my
did the
fun.
same thing. She played it for like a few weeks. Only did free to play. Realized like, oh, I'm just never gonna
Yeah,
get
like
to the point where I could in like say a Diablo 3. So why bother? And then
yeah,
stopped.
if I want the story, I can YouTube exists.
Yeah, just like watch a lore video or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Not that like that game got panned so bad for its economy though. So like,
And it's still made $50 million.
well, yeah, it's Diablo. It's like it's gonna rake
Yeah.
money in. It's just what that IP does. But
Yeah, I mean I have started playing Path of Exile because I was so disgusted by Immortal, so
fair enough. Yeah, I really hope we see something like that in the future because I
yeah.
think I think everybody would agree and more people would play, and that's only gonna make things better. And then like, because I think everybody praises the anthologies, even when they don't
Yes.
have all good cards. Like everybody's like, these are great. Like, because
Oh
like
yeah.
you're a like especially when they were actual like you spent X dollars, which was $20. You spent 19.99. It was you spent actual dollars. I like that they changed it to in-game currency
Yeah.
because now it's like a little more friendly to the free-to-play players who grind up
Yes.
currency or whatever. But it gives them something to grind towards basically. But at the same time, it's like now it's technically a little more. It's like $25. But even that, like the fact is like that it's just worth it. Like you don't, there's no questions. You don't have to
Yeah.
worry that you didn't get the mythic you wanted. You just got for a clean $25. Here's 4 copies of every card. Have fun. And I
Yeah.
really hope that this sells really well because I can guarantee you Alchemy Horizons didn't.
Yeah.
I can guarantee it didn't because I have not. I consult with other content creators. I consult with just regular people who play Arena all the time about this. I'm like, who do you actually think this format is for? Because I couldn't tell you. And the answer that I get from everybody is like, I'm sure they exist,
Yeah.
but they're like not the people we need to be making products for. Cause like I think like these digital products, and I think the draft setting proved that like yeah, these digital only cards are like not fun in draft. Cause it's just like the specialized cards, all of them suck, every one of them. Like unless like its initial card is really good, it's
Yeah.
unplayable. Like there's no like I'm gonna upgrade this bad card to a good card. That will never go well in any Magic setting. Period. Shitty
Yeah.
cards that are not on curve that upgrade to better cards will never be playable anywhere.
It would have needed to be like Morph.
Exactly. It needed to be different. It needed to be something that didn't
Yeah.
use the stack,
Yep.
or like you did it in your hand, or whatever. Like I get what's going on and why they designed it the way they did. It's just like it's just a bad mechanic, and it creates a lot of like. Have you heard about mobile? But when you're playing mobile, you can't see what you're specializing into. There's no
Oh my
interface to
god.
show you the other modes in the game,
Oh my god.
or even in the deck builder. Now that I think about it, somebody was showing me their mobile thing, and they're like, "Yeah, I'm in deck building. I can't see what the other modes on this card are, so I'm just not gonna play it." It's like they designed a UI for a card clearly for tabletop, but forgot that they were also a mobile game, and soon to be on Steam and consoles.
Oh my. Oh. Oh, the Steam review.
Oh yeah, it's gonna get mostly negative. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, it's gonna be bad. It's gonna be so bad.
Especially after freaking Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel
Oh my god, like
launch.
don't get me wrong. Ultimately, that game it did end up being just as bad as Arena, economically. Especially when you like actually compare. It's like Arena is slightly better to its players for buying stuff, but like they actually gave you like reasonable shit out of the gate.
Yeah,
Where
so no, you
Wizards
could.
is like, we'll give you 10 bad decks with maybe a few good cards
Yeah,
in them
no.
that you couldn't like imagine playing outside of the new player queue, which
If
you'll
you
only get to play in 10 times.
Yeah, if you played through the single player experience, you could get a reasonable chunk of stuff.
I will
Um,
attest, I played through the entire single player experience of Master Duel. I had about half the cards
yeah,
of
and
like
it's
any reasonable deck, and I was looking at like actual meta decks at one point, and I'm like, oh, I have like 3/4 of every one of these decks. So it's like, even if I did want to buy into a deck, it would cost me like $25 because I already have most of everything.
yeah, it was God, it was and then they had that tournament where like they screwed up the tournament format first, right? Because it was like you got prizes just for playing, so people would just lose like they would concede automatically
Oh, damn,
just
you're
so they
damn
could
right.
enter more events, and then they're like, okay, fine, we'll give you more for winning.
Well, yeah, like why would you just not just auto get the prize, especially if the prize is worth more than the entry? You're just asking for that. That's just shitty planning, is all that
Yeah.
is. Yeah, no, it's definitely like, yeah, it's so hard because it's almost like embarrassing, like
Mm,
as a player to be like, yeah, I play Arena, and they're like, why would you support that? Well, it's like, why I stream, I make content,
yeah.
I also like just play a lot of Magic in my free time because that's what I do. And Moto is a pain in the ass with card rentals, and it's more often than not worth the hassle if I just want to get like 5 matches in. I'll
Yeah.
just play on Arena versus playing on Moto because I don't feel like renting cards or doing all that stuff because it is just a massive pain in the ass most of the time.
Oh
Especially
yeah. I mean,
recently where like you can't. There's some decks you can't rent. Sometimes they don't have random cards. Sometimes there's scams happening now. Like that's a problem.
yeah.
Uh,
I've pretty much gotten to the point where I only get cards on that from like one or two vendors
exactly. It's
that I
it,
trust.
it it's so hit and miss, and unfortunately, yeah, the truth comes down to it's like Arena is bad, but it is probably one of the more friendly ways to play Magic compared to say the other digital options. Like Cockatrice isn't real. Spell Table is for Commander, and like you know
Yeah.
Like that's it. That's the MTGO exists, but it's more of an inconvenience to a majority of people who especially want to play high volume. So
Oh yeah,
hopefully
there.
at some point we'll switch to this CCG model. They'll just like realize like it's essentially a subscription based model at that point where it's like you can just pay $100 a quarter to get every standard card.
Yeah.
Like it's fine. That's how everything else works in economics. Just late stage subscription based models, baby. You own nothing.
Yeah,
You rent
$15 a
everything.
month for heated seats.
You're damn right. So silly. But all I think we can wrap it up there. Um, so
Yeah.
we'll be next week. We'll be back with the gauntlet. I'm thinking.
Yes.
Um, so we'll be doing Explorer. Actually, you know what? Why don't we take one more week off the gauntlet? We got the anthology comes out on Thursday.
That's fair.
We'll
That's
do a
fair.
we'll do a
Yeah.
follow up gauntlet the next week.
Yeah, with like see the meta after its release. I
Yeah, we
like
got all
that.
we know all the cards like because we don't want to play a lame duck gauntlet format. That just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
Um,
no, for sure.
so we'll take one more Tuesday off of the gauntlet, and we'll be doing that starting on what day of the week is that? That'll be like August 3rd, something like that.
Yeah.
August 2nd, August 3rd, and then of
Second,
course
it looks like.
next Thursday we'll be back at you with the budget battles. Episode 1 of the new season is historic,
Yes.
which I'm looking forward to. I actually have my decks built already. Now I just have to see what the anthology holds. And
Yeah, I only had one or two of them. The third one is yeah, no, I had Rakdos and was it Dimir? I'd have to look, but
sure,
I know one of them wasn't done. But I had Rakdos. I was just doing some tweaks playing against Sparky.
I do that a lot too. That's how I make my tweaks to the budget battle decks now. All right. Well, we appreciate you all for watching, of course. If you're watching us here on Twitch, don't be afraid to hit that follow button if you want to stay up to date with our content. Of course, if you're watching us from YouTube, don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button and don't forget to click that bell. Of course, I am the Saltiest Gaijin. You can find me on Twitter at Saltiest Gaijin, where I am typically active. Been sort of taking it easy the last 2 weeks, but and of course we can find you at
Yeah, Draby Noops. Pretty much on any social media that I have wanted to secure my name.
sounds about right. Again, thank you all for watching. We'll see you again